Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the May 7th, 2025 special board meeting for strategic planning for Arlington Heights School District 25. Today's meeting will focus on planning for the next strategic plan and is designated as a special board meeting due to the attendance of more than 2 board members, as you can see up here. We will not be taking any official board action during tonight's meeting, and there's only one community input section on the agenda, which we'll be at momentarily. And so with that, I call the special meeting to order. And Lana, would you please call the roll?
Tranter? Here. Jogi? Here. Scapalato? Here. Buchberger? Here.
Thank you, Lana. And everyone, please stand if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since Mr. Michael is not present, we will appoint a secretary pro tem for the meeting. I move to appoint Melissa Buchberger to serve as secretary pro tem. Are there any additional nominations? And seeing none, nominations are closed, and Melissa will serve as the secretary pro tem. Now is the time on the agenda when we set aside for community input, but am I correct? We have no community input requests for this meeting. So let's get to the heart of tonight's agenda. We're going to move to the strategic plan stakeholder meeting, and I'll turn it over to Dr. K.
Thank you, President Scapalato. I am really excited to have a really healthy group of students, staff, parents, building administrators, district office staff, and board members. And this is even more unique because more board wanted to join than we typically give access to. And I anticipate one more board member will also be joining us later this evening. So in order to do that, we had to make it a special meeting. So while it feels formal right now, I anticipate it'll feel less formal when we get away from this table. The only microphones that are currently live are the 2 that we are handing around up front. There will be no microphones at your tables, so your conversation should be open, it should be transparent, it should be direct. I just wanted you to know while this is being live streamed and recorded, not all of our conversations at the tables are. Anytime we're holding the microphones, then yes, the live stream group can hear us. So that shouldn't be a majority of our time. Hopefully a lot of our time is small group discussion at the table. So I just want to make sure you know we want you to be open, we want you to be transparent. I don't want you to be nervous about this being broadcast live for the YouTube universe. So I'm thrilled you're all here. I don't want to take up much more of our time doing welcomes, but it's really, I can feel the energy. It's not just the food, but that does help. I just am excited to have the next level of our strategic plan. It's the refresh. Thank you. The refresh where we are looking at adding the portrait system into our strategic plan. So without further ado, I want to introduce our facilitator who worked with us to create our current strategic plan and is now back with us to do the refresh as well. He is currently to my left, Mr. Perry Soldwadell, and I'm thrilled you're here to help guide us through and facilitate the process. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. This is, I think, what we call a working dinner. So please, anytime that you have any personal needs or whatever, we're going to do a lot of table activity tonight, a lot of discussion. So take care of your own needs too. There are no real formal breaks, but it won't hurt a thing to come and go if you need to. So I'm wanting to set the stage for the activity tonight. I'll be talking with a few slides to get us going because I want to give you some real background as to why we're here, what we're going to do, and have some discussion with you about how this fits into the refresh of the district strategic plan. Anytime that you have a question, please, all questions are welcome. All questions are good questions, so don't hesitate to ask. As Dr. K told you, we are going to be having most of our discussion at your table. You have been arranged by the district at your table into a variety of groups so that what we have at each table will be varying perspectives. Perspectives are opinions, they're feelings, they're very valuable to know, and so we're going to encourage discussion at the tables for you to get to know who's at your table and for people to feel comfortable to speak and let you know what they're thinking. You're going to find that all of our activities will begin with what you personally feel. And you'll be given an opportunity to jot that down, and then we'll move to what the table feels. And so everybody at the table will have an opportunity to share some ideas, and then there will be an opportunity to say, this is what our table feels. So the process works from individuals to tables to what do all tables think. And we arrive at some type of consensus by that. So wanting you to understand that everything we do will formulate into what the group thinks at the end. Okay? What's really important about this activity is you are the group that's going to draft 3 really important documents tonight. But I use the word draft because after tonight, those are going to be shared broadly with lots of stakeholders who aren't in the room. So there will be large groups of students that will have an opportunity to weigh in on the learner portrait. All staff will have an opportunity to weigh in on the staff educator portrait. Parents and community members will have opportunities to weigh in on all 3 of the documents we have tonight. So we're going to get it started. We're going to have the first draft. Other people are going to weigh in on that, and we're going to be collecting feedback. And everything then that we end up with will go to the district refresh strategic plan team. The refresh team hasn't been selected. It won't be selected until the fall, but it will be very much like this group. There will be all stakeholders just like we have here as a part of that group. They will come from all of the schools, and so there will be representatives from different stakeholder groups at each one of the schools on the team. Schools will make up pretty much the selection as who's going to represent them. But we're going to be giving them a lot of input. And tonight I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about the process. I'm certainly going to give you some background into our 3 activities for tonight. And then we'll actually conduct each of those activities, and we'll summarize where we are at the end of this evening. So with that in mind, I am going to run through a few slides that will give you that background. Each of you has a handout in front of you, and the reason for that is that if you want to take any notes, this would be the place to do it. And as you look at the handout, you'll see that there are some copies of slides on the left-hand column, and then there are places for you to take any notes. It's not required that you take any notes, but some people like to do that. So we'll be following. You don't have every slide. I just picked some key slides to put there, but you can use the right-hand column for anything that you want to do. Your notes are yours. They're to take with you. We won't be collecting them. Nobody will be looking at them. So it's up to you as to what you do. But I wanted to introduce you to the participant handout. Around the room, we have some really good, clear evidence that the district has been living a strategic plan for the last 4.5 years. They're in the final year of, and so as a part of that final year, we are going to have some activities. There will be actually 6 activities. This is one of 6 that will be giving us an opportunity to think about the future. We're really interested, as we refresh the current plan, into pushing it out from 2025 to pushing it out maybe as far as 2030. That decision hasn't been made, but we know that when we refresh the plan, we're definitely going to extend it beyond the 2025 school year. And so there are 6 activities, as I mentioned, that are going to give us a chance for people to think ahead, think into the future, and see how we can take this current plan and make it better, make it productive. The current plan is very productive, but it's not finished. There's still pieces of it that the district is working on. The board decided that they didn't really want to take the current plan and get rid of it. They wanted to take the current plan and build on it and refresh it. And so that's part of what we're doing. We're going to do 6 activities to get ready for the refresh. And this is the first one. That being said, I think it's important for us to talk a moment about what do we mean when we say refresh the current plan. I actually looked up the word refresh, and I found 5 other words that kind of talk about what do we mean when we say refresh. And those 5 are revive, restore, replenish, rejuvenate, renew. And I share those with you because all of those kind of fit with what we're going to do. What we're not going to do is close the plan down and say, thanks everybody, we worked on that plan, now we're going to create a new one. So we're really looking at a refresh as a way to build on to the current plan that's been in existence. As we do that, we're going to look at the pillars of a strategic plan. The refresh team will start out looking at mission, vision, and core values. They're going to have an opportunity to tweak, renew, rejuvenate, replenish what already is in existence, because lots have happened over the 5 years from when we established this. And we want to make sure that any changes or anything that we think about as we think about into the future will be incorporated into that refresh. Wanting you to know that the current mission of the district is empower an inclusive community of learners to innovate and thrive as global citizens. That statement actually took a group of people almost an entire day to work on, and then several times to come back and check it out, fine-tune it, and come up with what they think. As part of the refresh, we're going to start with that statement and say, as we think about 2030, does that still hold our purpose, our fundamental action, or do we want to tweak it, refresh it in any way? But we'll build on the current one. There is a vision. The vision really is something And if you want to look right up there on the wall, together today to transform tomorrow, that's pretty much what the last team came up with. They had 6 ways that they would go about doing that. I'm not going to go into the details of those 6, but there were 6 statements that helped us. But the key words is that we wanted to do it together. So together was a very, very important part of the vision. It wasn't something that we wanted a small group or an individual or the board. We wanted everybody to be a part of, so that together we would look at what we had today to transform tomorrow. So it was very much based on a continuous improvement idea. This is a very good district, and when we look at all of the indicators of success, we're doing really well. But we're not satisfied. No matter how good we are, this is a belief in the fact that we can be better tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. So the vision was very much about looking to the future. Around that, there were some core values. These were things that we really believed in. And when parents moved into the community, we wanted them aware that these were community beliefs. These were bedrock beliefs that the district would use to unify itself. These were really important beliefs to the strategic plan team. Around those beliefs, the district has been using them to guide its behaviors and its actions for the last 5 years. So part of our refresh will be to say, do these still stand? Is there anything that we want to change or add or renew? So the first big piece of the strategic plan is set around what we call the preferred future statement: mission, vision, and core values. We're going to add a 4th piece to that, and the 4th piece is called the portraits, and that's what tonight is all about. So I'm going to explain a little bit to you about what the portraits mean. To be real quick and real upfront, portraits are expectations. Expectations that would be for the learner. We could actually call it a graduate portrait if we thought of 8th grade as graduating into high school. The idea of the graduate portrait is that we want to know up front where we want our students to be successful when they move to high school. And this would be something we would want for every one of our students. So tonight we're going to go through an activity where we look at a variety of different things, and we're going to end up at the end of the night with our top 8 ideas of what we think every learner should know and be able to do successfully when they move to high school. I'm going to share in more detail about this, but something happened in your community this last year that really is going to help us. High School District 214 revised their strategic plan. I'm going to show a few segments of it to you in a little bit. But most importantly, they spent a lot of time talking with high school students, high school staff, parents, community members in a variety of different communities that feed into District 214. And they have a graduate portrait. Their graduate portrait is what they want all of their high school students to know and be able to do as they go on to college, careers, or life. And we already have that, it'll be a good thing for us to take a look at because they did a great job. And they spent an entire year working on it. We're going to spend next year working on the District 25. You're going to get us started tonight, but we're going to spend a lot of time letting other people look at it, have voice into it, and by the end of the 25-26 school year, we will have a very solid basis of putting the portrait into the refresh of the strategic plan. So, we will still have mission, vision, and values, but we're adding that fourth piece. It's really important for us to remember that there's no question learning is the hallmark of our foundational purpose. We're really looking at learning, and there's so many things we can learn. There's so many different ways of learning, but we want to make sure that we can simply state these are the critically most important, and that's what the portrait is going to do for us. With the mission, the vision, the values, and the portraits, we will have a major piece of the new strategic plan, and it will be called our preferred future. I have been doing strategic planning for the last 20 years. And to be honest with you, it was actually right before I did the strategic plan facilitation in your district 5 years ago. The facilitation was actually 6 years ago. 2 years before that, one of the things that changed my life was that we had a superintendent in a neighboring district to Arlington Heights that was doing his doctoral dissertation. And he chose the question, strategic planning worth the effort? And so he came to the group that I was working for, and he asked if we would give him the names of 30 districts where we had done strategic planning, and he wanted to make sure that some of those 30 were in their second year, their third year, and their fourth year of application. 23 of the 30 districts that we gave him said, we'll work with you. You can come into our district, you can talk to people. They knew the questions that he was going to ask. He went into the 23 districts, and he determined of the 23 districts, 2/3 of them, the plan was sort of on the shelf. It wasn't really in action. And he came up with, why did that happen? Why would it be that a district would invest all the time and money and effort into having a strategic plan, and then after 2 years or 3 years, it really wasn't working anymore? And he came up with 10 major reasons. The first one was that the superintendent left. A new superintendent came in, and the new superintendent, a new plan. Second major reason, board turnover. 4 new board members were elected, and the new board wanted to be part of a new plan. Third was measurability. And it was that they had a strategic plan, they were doing things, but nobody knew what the impact was. They didn't know if what they were doing was making a difference or not. The fourth major reason was that the new plan wasn't being monitored and reported. So a lot of people were doing things. Some people didn't even know it was part of the strategic plan, but they didn't even realize, even at board meetings, some of the action that they were taking was very much part of a plan, but it wasn't tied to the plan. And so a lot of people didn't see that a lot of what was happening in the district really came from the plan itself. I tell you only because I think it's important for you to understand that the process that you're going to be using now has been greatly changed. You were benefit to, when you did strategic planning 6 years ago, our methods changed a bit. And what we began doing was not just helping a school district get a new plan, but we were also providing training on how do you live the plan? How do you make sure that there's a return on that investment? So important that you understand the portraits became part of one of the new ways in which people began to live their core values. So we now have our system set up a little differently in that we are doing what is called a readiness for the plan. A readiness meaning that we think about things, we engage people in their thoughts, we ready products to take to the team. So that the products don't originate with the team, they actually originate with a large group of people, and then those products are taken to the refresh team, and the refresh team understands that there's a lot of engagement and thinking that went into it. So readiness is a part. And I mentioned to you there are 6 things that we're going to be doing that are part of the readiness, and the portraits is one of them. So as we think about that, we have from May until September to do all of the readiness kinds of activities. The refresh plan team will start in October and generally will do its work from October to January. That will be stage 2. And then the plan will go to the board, hopefully in February for approval. After approval, we will then begin from the plan's approval until the start of the next school year to get ready to live the plan. So it's a pretty long process when you look at all of the different stages. And I wanted you to understand we're at the very beginning. We're in the readiness stage. There are 6 activities, and this is the first of 6 that we'll be doing. So as we think about that, activity number 1 is going to be the portrait of a learner. It's called Portrait of a Graduate, as I mentioned earlier, because it's what we're thinking about when we envision what we want all students to know and be able to do. Illinois is very much unlike the other states in the fact that we have K-8 districts, 9-12 districts, and K-12 districts. Okay? We call districts, high school districts, and unit districts. You are in an elementary system, and to be honest with you, it's the largest group in Illinois. We have over 900 school districts. Some states only have 5. We have over 9. A uniqueness. However, is that students move from school to school to school, and in your case, would attend if they remain in public District 214. So students 8th grade to 9th grade, and we want to make sure that in our situation that we're all alike, so that all kids are well prepared onto high school, and we're going to focus on what are the critically most important things that we want them to know and be able to do. And we're going to call that the portrait of the learner or the portrait of the graduate. In thinking about that, we will call this our North Star. And if you know anything about a North Star, it's a guiding light for us. And we're going to talk about, once we decide what those critical things are, what piece of all of those do they learn in kindergarten? What piece of that do they learn in first grade? What piece do they learn in second grade? And as we go through the grades, by the time we're in 8th grade, we have had 9 years at a K-8 level of working on these critically most important things. So the portrait is a framework, and it helps us establish those. I mentioned to you that the high school spent 2025 doing their portrait of a graduate. When they finished, they have 8 key ideas. They are: empower myself, remain curious, show resilience, think critically, own my future, communicate effectively, demonstrate kindness, support my community. They spent a lot of time talking to lots of different people, and this is the final product that was presented to the board, okay, and has been approved. But this is their 8. They used the same process that we're going to use. They began with looking at 21 possibilities, and in the end, they came down to these 8. So, if I'm a teacher and I teach world history at the high school level, when I work with other teachers and we're planning our unit lessons, 9th grade, 12th grade, 11th grade, 9, 10, 11, and 12, we're going to ask ourselves, how do we embed these things in our unit plans so that kids have opportunities with every single thing we teach to make sure that they're learning and can exhibit these 8. Okay? They're even looking at how do we include these 8 in the way in which we evaluate our learners. High school students will be starting a portfolio. They'll begin it freshman year, and then every year they'll be adding it on. And in the portfolio, they have to collect evidence of what they've learned and what they're doing that demonstrate these 8 things. Okay? So, kind of important for you to see how this relates to curriculum. What's important as you look at these is they're not all academic. Many of them are non-academic. They deal with well-being. They deal with social-emotional. They deal with work-life skills. Huh? So there were several aspects when they chose their 8. So I'm going to give you just a moment at your table to kind of talk about, based on what I've shared with you so far, if we create this portrait of a learner or portrait of a graduate, how might it help us as we think about a future vision? As we think about the future, what would this portrait of key 8 skills do to help us? I'll just give you a few minutes to talk at your tables. I'm going to bring you back together. I'll put you right back into conversation in a moment, but I want to set the stage a little deeper. Once we come up with our key traits, if there's any rule to it, the rule would be that we not have more than 8. You're going to see that that's probably the greatest challenge because there are lots of good things, but we want to focus on the key, the top things. And research has told us that 8 is about the extent of what we can handle. So number-wise, some people actually go less than 8, but most people have 7 or 8 in their topic. Once we get our 8, I want to set the stage for what will we do as we begin to use the portrait. On the slide, you're going to see that there will be a visual created. I have visuals from all kinds of different districts. No two look the same visually, but the idea of it all is that a good visual really helps us with what's key. The visual usually has the concept and then a short statement. Okay. Also, you will see on the left, this comes from a school district that actually has created, and we will be creating here, a guidebook for how we use the portraits. When anyone comes new to the school district, first time coming in, so obviously we're looking at kindergarten, but it could be early learning. Whenever you start with the system, both the learner and the family has as part of their induction, what's the portrait? Why is it important? What's the learner role? What is the parent role? What is the teacher role? What is the system role? We're going to be working on 3 of those tonight. We're not going to be working on the parent one, but eventually, working through the parent organizations, the district will create a profile of a parent. Lots of parents want to know what the expectations are going to be. They want their voice into part of that, so we certainly want to do that collaboratively with parents. But knowing this, it really gives us the key ideas. It puts us all on the same page. It helps to unify the system. So it doesn't really make a difference which K-5 school I go to. This serves all of them. It serves all parents throughout the system. Okay? It serves all teachers throughout the system. So down the road, we're going to be creating things that help us use the portraits. And I wanted to show a couple of examples of those to you. So in your discussion, maybe some of these words were used. The graduate portrait, the learner portrait, helps set focus. What are the key critical things that we want to make sure that all students can succeed in doing? It creates clarity. The words are carefully chosen so that people understand that there's meaning, that there's good communication, that we can create consistency among all schools, among all classrooms, among all students. It sets those expectations. And while I know you can't see the details on the right up there, this is an example that actually came from a high school district, but I wanted to show it to you because we're going to be creating something very similar for District 25. This one, if you see where it says critical thinker, it's highlighted in kind of a yellowish orange. You see that up there in the row? They have 6 traits. This particular page defines what they mean by critical thinker. Okay? So there's detail to it. And this was defined not by the refresh team, but by those who are implementing this when we get into looking at curriculum, defined by students. But it sets up more details as to how this is embedded within our curriculum. There's a document that if I were to scroll down in the document, the next page would look at inclusive collaborator. Then the third page, effective communicator. So just so that you can see, it's very defined and there's lots of clarity. It's how we want good meaning, good consistency throughout the system. So those are things we do after we choose our 8. And our readiness activity is designed to spend good time on making sure that for District 25 we have the right 8 things. Okay. So as we look at how this is done, it's done very much like we're doing here this evening. It starts with a draft. We bring other groups in, and when other groups come in, they start with your draft. And then they add their comments to your draft. And then we take your draft and their comments and we go to larger groups. So the idea is that lots of people get an opportunity to take a look at it before the final comes in. Okay? So making sure there are different perspectives, different people. We actually end with the learner one. The last group that looks at the learner one will be all middle school students. We want to see how middle school students feel about what their perceptions are that they need to know and be able to do to be successful in high school. When we look at the teacher, the last group to look at it will be all teachers in the district. When we look at the system will be all leaders in the system. When we do parents, we obviously take it to the parent organizations. Okay? So lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, lots of input go into this. There are 3 big groups that are out there that provide training. I've actually gone through training with all 3 of them. The methods are pretty much the same, but they are reaching lots of schools, lots of districts. There are some states that are actually doing this at a state level. I personally like the district level better because if I think of Illinois, and I go in and out of a lot of different districts in Illinois, the needs that are present in Arlington Heights would be very different than the needs that are in Champaign, where I live right now. And so I like the idea that it's community-based. And in Illinois, they have not established state ones because they feel it's really best to leave that up to local communities in order to do it. But I wanted you to know that there's a research base. There are 3 companies that are out there that do it. I'm looking at our time, and I'm wanting to put you into some activities real quick. So I have a couple of video clips to show. I'm not going to show this one. I just want to talk about it with you. What I think is interesting, the one I am going to show, is I'm trying to give you also an idea about once we establish these 8 things, what will the district do to live them? One thing that the district will do, and you're very fortunate because you have somebody who's really good at video and video clips, you will actually have the 8 clips defined. They're defined as a learner by 8 different kids. Kids are selected to do it. They do a video clip. So if we collect and decide that one of ours is critical thinker, a student would describe what is critical thinking and how do I do that in my classroom. And the clips are all done in classroom settings. So we construct a lot of good meaning over this. So as other people look at them, we give them not only print materials, but we give them visual materials that really help to communicate what those ideas might be. This particular one is a statewide one. There are 14 states that have done it statewide. And as I told you, Illinois is not one of them. But the idea of it, everybody here tonight is actually going to get a copy of the PowerPoint. And I just wanted to call that to your attention because if you'd like to see the clip, if you just click on the slide, it'll take you to the link. Okay? So here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be giving you a list of 21 things. We're going to start with the learner, and these will be the 21 ideas that you can draft. You can include something that's not on the list if you feel there's something that's more powerful than the 21. But I'm going to be giving you this list. It's in your handout. And when I give you the list, there's going to be just some simple rules. Here's the rules. There are 3 columns. You're going to begin individually, and everybody's going to need to have a pen or a pencil. There's a box with markers, so if you don't have one, you can take a marker out of the box. We're not ready to do the activity yet, but I'm going to explain it to you. And if you look at the visual, here are the rules. There are 3 columns because research tells us that we want to make sure we have some key skills that are in the learning area, some that are in the literacy area, and some that are in life skills. So you're going to be looking at each of the 3 columns, and you are going to put 2 check marks beside the 7 things in the column that you think are the 2 most critical. So when you look at the column on the left, learning skills, you're going to put 2 check marks. Then you're going to go to literacy skills, and you're going to put 2 check marks. Then you're going to go to life skills, and you're going to put 2 check marks. Then you've used up 6 of your check marks. You have 2 left, and you could put those 2 in any column you want. Okay? So rules are simple. 2 in each column, and 2 anywhere. And when you're done, there'll be a total of 8. Okay? So that's the first step. I'll get into the second step, and then we'll turn you loose here in just a moment. A reminder that when we're done tonight, we're going to be able to create this kind of graph. This actually is a live graph from a school, and around them are the 8 things they chose. So individually, you can select 8. Then what's going to happen is you're going to find a poster that's rolled up on your table. When everyone is done, you will take the poster. The poster has a chart for all 3 activities, so we'll be looking only at the learner one, because we're doing activity 1, and everybody will put their check marks beside the 8 things. What that will do, it will allow us then as a table to say, ooh, if all 8 of us picked one, that probably is really key. If only one of us picked one, that probably is important but not key. So we're going to be moving from what I think as my 8 to what we think as our 8. Okay. So step 1 is me, step 2 is we, and then when you're done, we're going to have a reporter from each table who's going to give me the table team's 8, and then we're going to look at how many tables for each one to get all of us. Okay? Does that make sense to you? How that's done? Okay. So you'll find in your participant handout the me. Step 1 will be for everybody to go through it. Once everybody is done, you'll take the poster that is rolled up, and for the learner graduate, you will put a check mark, each of you, beside the 8 things you checked. And then you will have team discussion about, on the poster, let's circle the top 8 that we're going to report to the group. Yeah? Clear about that? All right. So I'll let you begin. You're going to be with the individual. I'm going to interrupt your conversations. We're going to take a look at what each table thought, and then I'm going to put you back into conversation about this. But everybody has completed, so we're going to, again, take a look at what's the commonality among the 7 tables here. So I'm just going to need one person who has the chart in front of them, and when I call for the skill, if it's one of your top 8, you will raise your hand. Okay? So one person who is the reporter, you're not going to have to do anything other than report by raising your hand. And the only person that will raise their hand will be the one person, because I don't want to see, we'll get confused over too many hands. Okay? So we have one person at every table. We're going to go through all 21. And as we get to the 21, if it's one of your top, you will raise your hand. Everybody good? To save me from having to write out all of those, I've numbered them. Okay? So we're going to start out, and number 1 will be critical and creative thinking. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay? Then I'm going to start in the second column. Okay? And I have numbers up here rather than skills. But I'll start out, when I say the number, I'll say the skill also. And if it's one of your top 8, the person reporting will raise their hand. We'll do the first one. If one of your top 8 is critical and creative thinking, raise your hand. I have 7. Does everybody else agree with that? Correct? 7 tables have their hands up. Or do we have all 8? Raise them high if you have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. We have 7. Okay. We have 7. Second skill, communication and collaboration. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Data analysis and reporting. 0. Innovation and future orientation. 0. Continuous improvement. 0. Teamwork and engagement. 0. Responsibility and accountability. 0. Okay. So from that column, it kind of looks like we have 3 winners. Okay? We'll come back to that, but that's what it looks like. And by the way, all 7s for all 3 of them. Just pretty strong. All right, second column, problem solving and decision making. Literacy, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Wow. Okay, did you look on each other's pages? This is amazing so far. All right. Information. Media. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay? Civic literacy. Tech literacy. Looks like we have 2 winners in that column. So far we have 5, and all 5 were 7s. Interesting. Flexibility and agility. 5. Leadership. Physical, emotional, and social skills. Self-awareness and confidence. Empathy and perseverance. Global citizenship. Cultural proficiency and awareness. Okay, so if we go with all 7s, we would have the first 2 in the first column, the first 2 in the second column, and then we would have the last one in the first column, and we would have self-awareness and confidence. No, empathy and perseverance, thank you. Okay, which would give us a total of 6. 6, okay? So if we were to add 2 more from your list, it would be flexibility and agility, because there were 5 for that one, and it would be empathy and perseverance. This one? Oh, this one. Got it. All right. So that would give us our 8. Right? Pretty much our 8. Okay, now I'm going to give you a chance to talk about those. And when we come back, if somebody wants to advocate for one that isn't on the list, for one that is, you get a chance to do that. Okay? So a chance to talk about the 8 that are the top by our numbers. By the way, it's very interesting too. This isn't a requirement, but you have at least 2 in every one of the 3 columns. Yeah, that's another thing that's interesting. So, we'll give you a chance to talk. We'll come back together about 5 minutes.
What's a synonym for agility in that situation? Like we think flexibility, obviously, dealing with flexibility.
Yeah.
What would you define agility as?
I would say that agility for kids would be that they're open to change, um, that they're willing to take a risk, um, they're, the idea around the two of those paired together is that, um, and I'm trying to not use another word because some of these are closely related, but I would say the best one that I could give you is um, open to experiment, open to change, open to because sometimes in order to really be a good learner, we have to think differently, and so that fits into the flexibility and agility one. But you're making a really good point because one of the things we have to do is define these clearly. And I'm going to show you a couple examples of how flexibility and agility looks to a kindergarten student, the words that are there, versus how it looks to an 8th grade student. They're all there, but they build on one another as they go up.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, so like just like,
Yeah.
like responsiveness, or like you said,
Yeah.
openness. It's kind
Yeah.
of like.
Sorry. Yeah.
And then, is there a reason why these 21 were chosen? Like background.
Yes. These 21 came from the 3 companies that are doing this, and they began to do this in so many different places that they began to look at what were the most often ones that were stated places.
Got it.
And so that's how they came up with their 21. There's 3 major ones across the country that are leading this out. Now, what gets interesting about it is, and I think it was this table that actually started it, I find that sometimes people will say, I want to combine information, media, and tech. And where that comes more prevalent is that I'm going to guess that if I had a group of 7th and 8th grade students and we asked them to go through this activity, that would be one of them. Okay? And it's why it's so important to let different groups look. It's like, it is amazing to me how many 7s were. I don't think I've ever had like that before. All but 2, I think, were 7s. Which is really amazing. That's
Even as a table, we found that too. If you look at our numbers as a table, we were very
yeah,
of a like mindset, if you will.
yeah.
Okay, that's helpful.
You don't. Yeah, you don't. You don't. And I kind of let people go with the 8 now. But as we collect for more, we keep adding these numbers up, and it sometimes becomes really clear there are 6 that stand out. Yeah, yeah. But okay, I'm going to bring you back together again. Conversations. I'm going to start out with a couple of them. called over to a table, had the discussion at the table, want to make sure I share what I shared with them, with everybody. There was a question about, do we have to have 8? Can we have fewer than 8? And the answer to that is, as long as you don't have more than 8, you're within the rules. I generally encourage the first draft to go for 8, because we're going to use this draft to go out to other people. I speculate, and I could be wrong in this, but I speculate when we're doing this one and we go into the middle school and we have middle school kids look at these 8, I speculate that they're going to be mostly alike yours, but there'll be a couple of them different. My speculation is that middle school kids will definitely lean toward STEM or lean toward something with technology. I say that to you because someone else said, well, where did these 21 come up with? The 3 companies that are doing this all over the country have done this so many different times. Every year their list changes a bit, but their list incorporates the top things they're learning from everybody across the country, and they have 21 of them. What doesn't change are the 3 columns. The 3 columns remain the same, but sometimes things will change a bit. As an example, sometimes as this goes out, people will look at them and say, I see a couple of them the same. Sorry about that. Sorry that I'm checking my phone, but I actually have a person in my family who is about to give birth. Was not her. Normally I would have shut my phone off, so I wanted to tell you that there was a good reason. So, okay. Sometimes what happens, and this comes more from kids than anything, is they will say, oh, could we combine tech, lit, media, and information? Could we put those 3 together? And the answer is, you can put anything together. You know, there's no hard, fast rule. You could put something else up here. There was a nice discussion somewhere about the word respect, that when you're looking here, you don't see the word respect. However, if I were to show you the definition of their respect is in 7 of them. So knowing the definition and the purpose of being able to define them clearly is something that has to be done. So we get to that once we get through the list. Okay, open to you. Anybody want to advocate for anything? Anything you want to talk to the group about? Pretty clear to us. I can't ever remember that I have had this large a group and had 6 7s. I mean, every single table agreed on 6 of the 8, which is really amazing. Really amazing. Yeah. Yeah. actually is the answer, is that I can show you definitions for each of these, but I've seen that what happens is when things are critically important and one of them isn't on the list, they make sure that they show how the others touch that one. So that's why the definition is most important in this, because it does allow us to expand the thinking and make sure that things that are critically important to us are in our top 7 or are in our top 8. Okay. Yes. Yep. Yeah. 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 I think that's a good point. Because I would agree with you that physical isn't anywhere else. You know. Yeah. Well, and as we look at your list, that one was one away from being on the list. So maybe you twist my arm and I put that one on the list too. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. And these are the kind of discussions we'll have. Here's one thing that I did. I looked at something as if values, they're there. Well, and I don't know what will be revamped in them, but I do know that they're covered well in your current core values. And all 4 pieces, mission, vision, portraits, and core values will be part of the preferred future. But those are things, you know, to look at. And I'm going to keep my notes so that I'm aware of what this group has said in your conversations. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, your discussion was great. We have a start. I think we have had ample discussion to be able to capture the thinking of the draft. I want to move us forward to our second portrait. I'm going to give a little background information again to the second portrait, but it's sufficient as we make the transition to say this. We now know what are the top 8 or 9 really important traits of the learner. We're going to move to the educator next. And our question is going to be around the educator is, what skills do the educators need in order to help their students succeed with the top 8 or 9 that we just identified? Okay? These all fit together because the educator has to be able to value these things, and we need to identify what are the traits that go into teaching that allows teachers to help learner. Okay? So I'm going to give a little background and then we'll go into the next one. So the educator portrait is wonderful in terms of looking at professional development, in terms of looking at what's the criteria we use when we recruit and hire good teachers, what is in our mentoring and our induction program that identify the top key skills that are there. What is it that as we're looking at performance, and every teacher required by law has to be evaluated, what are the things that we want to make sure we have good conversations with all of our teachers about? Because these would be the things that if they possess these traits, they're best able to help learners achieve theirs. Huh? So that's how the two of them fit together. So again, we're looking for no more than 8. We have a list that will guide us with 21 of the top ones. When we're all done, we will have a visual that will look similar to this. This is a neighboring district. This is District 41 in Glenbard, in the Glenbard system. Glen Ellen, District 41. But they have 6 that are a part of theirs. From that, we have identified again these 21. The same rules are going to apply. This time, the 3 columns are a little different. The first column is focused on the student, on the learner. The middle column is on the workplace. And the third one is the same as the student and its life. Pick 2 in any column. That uses up 6 of your check marks. And then you can place the last 2 anywhere on the page. So again, total of 8. You'll be doing the same thing you did before. Individually first, then table team, then discussion, and you'll be selecting what you're going to report out to me, the top 8 that goes with educator. I need, pardon? You can just pencil them in right up here. So, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I see. So this, ah. Okay, I need to call you back together. Sorry about this. We just noticed that there's an error on the poster. Okay, an error on the poster. So you haven't gotten there yet, most of you. But what happens, and you'll see this when you get there, in this case, there are 8 rows. There are not 7 rows. And the very first row didn't get put on the chart. Okay? Didn't get put on the chart. So what I'd like you to do is at the bottom, after the row, meaningful assessment, timely differentiated, if you would put critical thinking and problem solving, leadership and management, lifelong learner. Okay? It's just the first row when the chart was copied got left off. Everybody got that? Thank you. Sorry. Good solution over here. Thank you.
ones do I feel like feed into other ones, and then if I saw two that seemed like really similar, I would pick whichever one I thought was more like appropriate.
Great thinking.
Yeah,
The
it
other
is.
one I'm really stuck on is if you ever think about a classroom that isn't running well, it's because there's chaos and like there isn't good classroom management, and the teacher is emotional themselves, right? They don't have that emotional regulation themselves. So that's why like I chose like the leadership and management of like your classroom, and then I also chose like the structure. Those are the three.
Here's what I used to know. So oral is oral communication versus penalty differentiated instruction support. This one we have things now with AI that can help out staff and actually help them like
But there's an age.
this one you gotta be in the moment and you don't do the tone or do something that there's not anything in the world that's gonna help you out. So that's why I feel like for me, that's the problem. That one's like
Would you rather have a teacher that is native and animated, or would you rather have a teacher that's sympathetic, kind of person who's got skills that are
So I mean, like like I think like maybe like if you're just starting and you're a teacher, if you're just starting as a teacher, I think you want to have empathy and perseverance because over time the creativity and innovation will come after you have more experience with students.
Yeah, and you're coming to Titus, right? Write your name down, sister. I won't see you for a couple years, but definitely be requesting you. Oh, okay, so like how
teacher life or is it like in teacher life or like outside person life?
Yeah, it's, well, I would say it could be both.
Okay.
The way that they describe them all is that the first column are skills that are learner traits. Teacher as a learner, but also teacher as a learner to help other learners. The middle one is the team. It's working, collaborating with others, things I need in the workplace in order to collaborate, communicate with people I work with. The one in the last column is more, these are life skills that I need in order to be successful in working with people outside the workplace. Outside.
So, I mean, and listen, we can also combine, we can just, for the sake of argument, listen, you gotta be an ethical decision maker, and what that means is you're gonna show empathy and, and empathy when making decisions. It means you're going to, be an active listener, whatever. So you can loop that in when we get to, I don't know if we're defining them today or not, but when you define
Yeah,
them,
we're not.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of the piece, like,
Sure.
what does it mean to be an ethical decision maker? Well, I'm gonna show empathy when I'm making
Yeah.
decisions, otherwise I'm not being very ethical, right? So.
Yeah.
So then if I had to
Is there any team not ready to report out? Still need a little more time. Okay. Sure. All right, and I think we're ready to report out on this one. Okay, again, we have reporters. They're going to raise their hand. Ready? We're going to start in the first column, but in the first column, it's at the bottom of your sheet, top of mine. Critical thinking and problem solving. If you had that one, raise your hand. Critical thinking, problem solving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Constructive coach providing feedback. Two. Student-centered. 7. Relevancy and engagement. Relevancy and engagement. 2. Teach for transfer of learning. It's very interesting. I don't think in any group I've ever been in, anybody has chosen that one. All right, a lot of people ask, what is that? What is that? Okay. All right. Learn how to learn. Learn how to learn. 2. Student innovation and creativity. Meaningful assessment. Okay, so the first one will be at the bottom of your column, leadership and management. Exploit technology to support learning. Exploit. Time management. Time management. Conflict resolution. Love for teaching. Teamwork and collaboration. Oral and written communication. Timely, differentiated instruction and support. Third column, lifelong learner. Mindfulness and stress management. Ethical decision maker. agility and adaptability. Assessing and analyzing information. Creativity and innovation. Empathy and perseverance. Listening, learning, responding. So, all right. Did I miss any up here? Got a couple of threes up there, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 that have 5 or more. Then it drops off to 3. So if we were going to take, it would be number 18 and number 16. That would give us the 8. Timely differentiated instruction and support, and mindfulness and stress management. Okay? Comments? Yes. Okay, the learning how to learn, we had 2, right? Okay. So it's the next category down. Yeah. Learning how to learn is up there for the reason that it's more important to know how to learn than you know what you've learned. Because if you know how to learn, you can apply it in many different categories. Yeah.
We had a lot of hard times with this one. They all kind of blended together a lot.
Yeah.
And we ended up sort of making the point that with a lot of these, you start putting bullet points underneath them, and you can sort of fill in the blanks with the ones you didn't pick, you know. And so we
Exactly.
sort of student-centered really correctly. If you're student-centered, you're going to timely differentiate and support, and you're also probably going to be creative and innovative at the same time. So, you know, it was a little more difficult for us this time around, but I think a lot of them kind of
Yeah. Well, and your point is a point I've been trying to make to everybody, and that is how these are defined are critical. And once you know what they are, then you can blend other things that are more important that didn't get put on the list, because there are connections among many of them. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Yeah. The definitions are critical, and that's one of the tests we use, is it educational jargon? And is there a way to make sure in our definition that it's understandable by people who aren't educators? So, good point, yes. Yeah. the love for teaching one, research lets us know that, especially today, there are more educators who do not like their job. That over time, they're teaching, but they don't have a love or passion for it. And they show up to work, and without having the love or passion for it, it affects a lot of things. So that's why it's on the list, but it's to your point that that's why I'm not for a state choosing these, because what you would choose for District 25 is not what other districts might choose for themselves. And so some of these aren't as applicable to you as others are. And that's why it's important that we give this the 25 test. And we make sure that these are things that people who connect with District 25 absolutely feel are the critical ones. So, but that's why that one is on there, because more and more, and I think a lot of that, if you do look at the research, a lot of that changed with COVID and the pandemic. There were a lot of people who came to work after that and during that and felt not prepared, or this is what I signed up for, and not seeing that it was being addressed after we got back to work. So I think that's where some of these things come from. Yeah. Yep. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's I've never thought about it that way, but that could be true. I think many people who are not educators who do this activity tend to think about who was their favorite teacher and when I think about why would I choose that person, what were the traits, what were the characteristics. Where if I'm a staff member and I'm doing it, I'm thinking about everybody at my grade level or the grade level one up or one down, and how do we collaborate and so forth. So I think perspective is a piece of this one. It's why I told you that the final test on this one is going to go to the teachers. Because to be honest, when we're looking at this one, when we look at the first one, we're embedding that into what learners learn. And the driver on that one is going to be the learner. Students are going to have profiles. Students are going to really understand these are the things I need to know, and here's the evidence I have. And so it gets into student ownership. This one tends to be more of looking at, and I know your data, and I don't mean this in any disrespect at all, but one of the things that is very clear in your data that was filled out by teachers is that their lowest area, the area they identified as a weak area, is collaborative practices. And that was identified by them. Well, that's meaningful to me. If that had been identified by families, it would not have as much to me as they themselves identifying it. And it doesn't mean that there's not collaborative practices, but it's not everywhere. And not every team has everybody on board in terms of collaborative practices. So it's why we look at all kinds of data about a district. And honestly, I know the score that you got on collaborative practices, it was your lowest score. And there are most districts that they would have loved to have had that score. Okay? It's all relative. Everything is relative. And so when you look at your satisfaction results are higher than most districts that I interact with. And that's everything. Student satisfaction, teacher satisfaction, family satisfaction, higher. But that just speaks to the culture, and it speaks to what you've created over time here. And it's why you need to pick the things, in my opinion, that you feel are your low-hanging fruit to make those better. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do the last one, but I want to show you just a couple of things before we do that. So the system is what we're going to do next. And the way I like to describe the system is we have at the very core the learner, the graduate. And then we have the closest contact, which is the teacher, helping the learner be successful. The system, or the district, is helping the teachers be more successful. It's all about what are the key things that the district needs to do in order to make sure staff is the best prepared they can be to make the kids successful. Okay? System, district level. Okay. It's going to be 2 a.m., I know it. I know it. Okay, so again, in your handout, you have a system level. The system level has 7 traits that are there, 3 columns again. The first column is what does the system need to do to help teachers make learners successful? The second column is what does the system need to do to make the culture, the environment, the workplace high satisfying? What does the system need to do in order to help everyone in the system have good life skills for the future to be successful? Those are the 3 columns. So you're going to have 2, 2, 2, and then a final 2. So it works just like the other ones. Are we good? The last one, all 3 of them have life on them. What they're looking for in the life area is down the road, what do I need to be successful in life? To have a balance in life, to be a person who's contributing to my community? What are the things in life? So there's a differentiation between the workplace and then life in general. That's the difference between. Now this one is all aimed at what does the district do to help teachers help kids be more successful. Okay? So you're thinking about what does the district do to help people be contributing community members, be contributing parents, be contributing. So that's the life piece of it. Okay? Yeah.
Can you explain the fifth one under learner?
Yeah. Okay. That one, what that one means is that we're not using only paper and pencil assessments. We are giving students an opportunity to do projects, exhibits, um, be highly engaged in assessing their work. Yeah. Um, I honestly think that the word present is a typo. Yeah. It's the idea of that one is exhibition, and an exhibition is a performance. It's not a pencil paper task. Something outside of that. Okay? Are we good? All right. you're ready here?
We're ready.
Are you ready here? And you're ready here?
Yes, sir.
This table's ready? And you're ready?
We're ready.
You're ready. Okay. Okay. Ready to report out on this one. So I've got the numbers listed again. We've got our reporters. You're going to raise your hand if this is one of your top. Okay? So first one, personalized learning. 1. Okay. Responsibility for their learning. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inquiry-based or project-based learning. Use technology wisely. Opportunities to exhibit or present. Promote learner interests, voice, and choice. Ensure ambitious instruction. Rethink educator roles. Use curricula to create opportunities for student agency. Demonstrate visionary leadership. Measure learning and efficacy. Ensure professional learning is relevant. Promote innovation and real-world relevance. Hire, retain, and develop excellent employees. Equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Value relationships and safety. Make connections. Ensure partnerships through engagement and collaboration. Believe in continuous improvement. Cultivate healthy, positive mindsets. Value fiscal health and stewardship. Okay. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So in the first column, responsibility for their learning, promote learner interest, voice, and choice, ensure ambitious instruction. In the second column, the last three, professional learning is relevant, promote innovation and real-world relevance, hire, retain, and develop excellent employees, And the first one, equity, diversity, and inclusivity, and cultivate healthy, positive mindsets. Okay, those would be our top 8. Okay, it's a wrap for this evening. Here's what happens. I will take it all away. I will give back, and you will get the top 8 in each one of the 3 categories, and I will attempt the first draft of what do each of those mean. Okay? I'll attempt that. Then we will share this with other groups. We'll get more opinions along the way, and by September, we will have a draft that has been vetted by many people that will take to the refresh team. Okay? Questions? Thank you for being a patient, engaged group. The conversations were good at every table. Your questions help me, so I appreciate you being here. And last words to our fearless leader.
Let's give Perry a round of applause. Thank you, Perry. One of the things I would like to do to get some feedback from all of you is send this group a survey just about the process of how everything went, just so we can get some quick feedback from you guys. So I would expect that to happen in the next couple days. I am really excited that we were able to get this many stakeholders together in the room. As Perry said, this is the beginning of a long process. So we will have multiple opportunities to get more feedback, not only from you, but from the people you are also representing as well. So are there any questions before we leave? We just have one more formal procedure to close the official special meeting. But before we do that, are there any questions? I don't know if any of you are using that clock up there. It's not a trick. We're not trying to play games with you. It is officially 7:04. I didn't want to say anything out loud because I could have ruined it, but Perry anticipated we would finish at 7, so another round of applause for Perry. I knew if I said that at the beginning of the meeting, you'd all hold me to it, and then if we didn't do it, I would be disappointed, so congratulations, we made it. It is officially 7 p.m., not 6. And if you have any desire to take more snacks as you leave, please do so. Students, thank you so much for staying tonight. Part of what I have always loved about Perry's process is in the inclusion of student voice and the inclusion, obviously, of parents and teachers, but it's not every process that includes the student voice. So I'm excited that you were part of stage 1, and we will have multiple opportunities as we go on. So once again, thank you. Board, I'm going to do a official request that we close the special meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. K. Board members, I move that we adjourn. Can I have a second? Thank you, Anisha. All in favor? Thank you, and the motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody, on behalf of the board. Have a great night.